Xbox is having a very good 2024 so far. We had an incredible Xbox showcase back at the start of June, and some great titles have been released this year, with plenty still due this 2024. There are a ton of games that have been announced for the remainder of this year, and today we will narrow down the top 30 huge games coming to Xbox in the second half of 2024. We make content like this every single day, so make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with all things Xbox. My name is Fletcher, this is Xbox Nation, and let's dive into these huge games arriving soon. A game that was announced a while back is finally landing for Xbox consoles and Game Pass next month. Dungeons of Hinterberg is a sort of Zelda-like experience set in a colourful alpine village where you will collect puzzles, fight in some pretty awesome looking combat, and partake in some light platforming. You can snowboard down a glacier, zipline through the forest, or have a coffee by the lake, and there's definitely looking like no shortage of places to discover whilst you're looking for your next dungeon. This just looks like such a unique experience, and I just cannot wait. It arrives onto Xbox this July, and day one onto Game Pass for console and PC. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is coming later this year to the Xbox Series consoles and PC, and will be available day one onto Game Pass. This new journey starring the legendary archaeologists comes from the award-winning team at Machine Games. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a first-person single-player adventure that will take you all over the world, uncovering clues and solving an ancient mystery. We got a longer look at the game at the recent showcase, and every time we see more about this game, it looks even more phenomenal. There is no fixed release date yet for this one still, but it's hitting a full release onto Xbox and Game Pass. Replace shocked us when it was originally shown off a couple of years ago with some of the best pixel art directions seen in gaming, and everything we have seen since is building even more hype for this stunning game. With its dark, gritty tone and exceptional looking level design, this was always going to be high on any gamer's lists. Replace combines cinematic platformer, pixel art and free flow combat with a deep engaging dystopian story set in an alternative 1980s. The game has had a couple of delays, but I cannot wait to dive headfirst into the mysteries around Phoenix City when it arrives day one onto Game Pass. Now, one huge PC IP is finally arriving onto Xbox consoles this year, and currently has an ongoing closed beta which is receiving incredible praise from the community. I don't think many expected to see Valorant on consoles, especially as it requires split-second decisions and precise aim, but what we are seeing on this console port is absolutely remarkable. This is a PvP shooter incredibly similar to that of Counter-Strike, but actually includes heroes with their own unique abilities to change the tide of each game. The benefit for all Xbox Game Pass subscribers though is that you can get all heroes unlocked instantly, so you can get into the action right away. Now, this next game is probably one of the most anticipated games of 2024, and it's coming day one onto Game Pass, but we still don't have a solid release date, and that is for HollowKnight Silksong. This is the sequel to the award-winning Hollow Knight, and from what we have seen so far, we are extremely hyped for this game. Players will get to explore, fight and survive in this gorgeous platformer that is ruled by Silken Song. There is still no fixed release date, and we are still in the dark about when this game is coming, but it was rated on the South Korean ratings board a couple of months ago, so we are still hopeful for a 2024 release. Well, one game that is due this fall is an absolutely mammoth first-party title, and that is none other than Avowed. This is a first-person RPG set in the fantasy world of Ara, and it is being developed by the masterminds of Obsidian Entertainment. This is a huge RPG and looks incredibly similar to that of Skyrim, so it's always going to be high on any gamer's lists, and easily sits as one reason to own an Xbox Series console this generation. We saw more about this game as part of an extended show this June, and the multiple choices, more emphasis on companions, and excellently reworked combat has us incredibly hyped for this new release. This next game is one that will make all strategy fans on console incredibly happy. Manor arrived onto PC Game Pass to massive success earlier this year, and it was an incredible experience with over 1 million players playing within the first week. The fact this game was made by a solo dev is still outstanding, and it's an incredible experience. This is ultimately a medieval strategy game featuring in-depth city building, large-scale tactical battles, and complex economic and social simulations. The game looks utterly outstanding, not only graphically, but also plays great mechanically, and really hooks you in with its deep gameplay mechanics and stupidly addictive gameplay loop. One game that I'm still very skeptical about is the upcoming open world dinosaur RPG Arc 2. You will play the role of the man himself, Vin Diesel, also known as the hero Santiago, and experience an epoch-spanning adventure as he seeks to protect his daughter Mika. It's set in an impressive and massive new chaotic world that is overrun by invasive primeval creatures. From what we are hearing so far about this game, it seems like a huge improvement to the first entry, and it's insane to think how big of a leap this could actually be. I might have chuckled at the thought of Vin Diesel in a video game, but I will certainly give this one a go when it releases towards the end of 2024. Believe it or not, but this game was announced all the way back in 2012, and then seemed to vanish off the face of the planet. Finally, last year, we got to see the re-reveal, and wow, did routine not disappoint. For anyone unaware of this game, it is a first-person sci-fi horror game, with the game scored by none other than the legendary composer behind the Doom games, Mick Gordon. The short snippet we've seen so far shows us, the player, searching through an abandoned lunar base where something goes horribly wrong and exploration turns into survival. Their visuals and atmosphere in this one are on another level, and I cannot wait for it to arrive onto Game Pass day one sometime this year. We all know this next title, and that is because the current version is one of the best looking games on Xbox. Microsoft Flight Simulator is beloved by so many players out there, and we have great news as Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is flying straight onto Game Pass this November. This brand new simulator experience promises to take the already fantastic simulation of cloud and machine learning to a whole new level. The devs are promising more sophisticated flying and an even more immersive and awe-inspiring experience. From hot air balloons to gliders, there is going to be so much more content to dive into this fall. If you're a big Star Wars fan like me, then you must be eagerly waiting for Star Wars Outlaws. This new game tells the story of Kay Vess and her axolotl-like companion Nyx attempting one of the greatest heists the Outer Rim has ever seen. Ultimately, it's going to be a very big scoundrel story that aims to emulate the adventures of Han Solo whilst being a little bit more relatable. According to Ubisoft, the game is spread across multiple handcrafted planets of manageable sizes, so it's not going to be bloated like other Ubisoft titles. We did see more about the game at the recent Ubisoft conference, and the seamless interplanetary exploration and space dogfighting looks incredibly well polished. One of my most anticipated games of 2024 has to be Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. Coming from the developers behind World War Z, I am so hyped for this next entry, and visually it looks utterly spectacular. Seeing waves of Tyranids face the Space Marines and Imperial forces looks mind-blowing, and all gameplay so far has really gobsmacked me in terms of scale that they are going for. What makes Space Marine 2 so exciting is its mechanics. Rather than have you cower behind cover in traditional third-person fashion, Saber Interactive's upcoming game embraces the power and brutality at the heart of the Space Marine fantasy. And with that, you can even play it with friends in co-op or with online PvP multiplayer. One game that we didn't actually see at the Xbox Showcase this year has still been confirmed to be launching in 2024, and that is Towerborne. Towerborne is an action RPG from the makers of the Banner Saga trilogy, and it looks like Stoic Studio have a gem on their hands. You'll begin by creating your own character before diving into the adventure and developing your own playstyle with various skills, gear, and Umbra companions that can fight alongside you. Most interestingly, Towerborne features an evolving world map and seasonal content, so there will always be new areas to explore, enemies to defeat, and story to experience. It looks fantastic from gameplay, and previews so far have been excellent, and it comes day one onto Game Pass sometime later this year. If you love racing games, then you will need to keep an eye on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. It has now been 13 years since the latest entry in this series, and it's about time that we're getting a new game in this long-running series. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is a modernized take on what made the previous titles acquire almost cult status among all of its fans. The game is a sequel of sorts, taking the DNA of the old games and bringing it to the present day. It's playable solo, but the social aspects are a big part of getting the full experience. It's so much more than just racing, with a huge dense open world and tons of activities to enjoy. Now we have the next big new IP coming from some ex-Persona developers, and that is Metaphor ReFantazio. Metaphor ReFantazio is pitched as Atlas's first ever full-scale fantasy RPG, and it was first teased more than 6 years ago under the name Project ReFantasy. That project was originally announced in 2016, and it's a complete departure from the Shin Megami and Persona series, and a return return to the roots of where the Japanese games industry began with role-playing games. Atlus and Studio Zero said they were developing a traditional fantasy RPG with distinct Atlus flavor. It looks incredible from what we have seen so far, and it comes out this year on the 11th of October. We are finally getting a release of a Manor game on Xbox for the very first time, and this is also the first new mainline Manor game for over 15 years. If you're unfamiliar with Visions of Manor, it is a sprawling new single-player action RPG where you will explore vast areas, battle monsters, gain allies, and uncover the many secrets of this expansive open world. As you can see from the footage on screen now, it's a beautifully vibrant game with rich colors and really expressive characters. Combat has always been at the forefront of Manor games, and from what we have seen, it looks incredibly appealing, and the mix of aerial and elemental attacks certainly draw you in. It comes to the Xbox consoles on the 29th of August of this year. It's not often you see a shooter being touted as an RPG experience, and yet that's what the First Descendant actually is. The game is a mix of shooter and RPG styles to create a fresh and fun experience that you can play with your friends. The game's plot focuses on you and others defending a continent from an invasion. The more missions you do, and ultimately the stronger you will become. But honestly though, the deeper that you will go into this game, the more truths you'll learn about who you are and what it ultimately means to be a descendant. Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn comes from developer A44, which previously developed the incredibly well-received open-world action RPG Ashen. This game will put players in the role of Nor, who wields a mix of guns and magic in a conflict wherein balances the fate of humanity. Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, judging by its most recent trailer, looks to be moving even closer to From Software's RPGs, leaving behind cell shading for a higher fidelity presentation. The Souls-like gameplay and atmosphere certainly appear to be returning, but we also did get confirmation from the developers that if you don't like Souls-like games, then you can play on an easier difficulty, and it turns it into a more of an ARPG. Capcom has confirmed that Kunitsu-Gami: Path of the Goddess, the brand new hack and slash game, will be debuting on Xbox consoles and Game Pass on the 19th of July. Kunitsu-Gami: Path of the Goddess is an action strategy game that takes place in a unique Japanese-inspired setting. One day, a mysterious black substance suddenly appears out of nowhere and quickly spreads throughout the mountain. This substance is incredibly dangerous as it corrupts the environment into a nightmarish wasteland and mutates the villagers into vile monsters called the Seethe. It looks great and seems to have an incredibly deep gameplay system, so we cannot wait to get our hands on it this July. World's Edge, the award-winning studio behind the Age of Empires franchise, showcased a trailer of truly mythical proportions. Retold will combine the best elements of the beloved Age of Mythology with modern real-time strategy design, visuals, and gameplay. The newly premiered trailer revealed the first gameplay footage, showing off exciting action and divine powers, as well as some newly redesigned deity portraits. The World's Edge team also confirmed the launch date for Age of Mythology Retold will be September 4th this year, and that it will be the first Age of Empires title to ship on both PC and console at the very same time. Oh, and with that, it's also coming day one onto Game Pass. One of the most dangerous situations to be in is one where you will totally rely on yourself to get through a challenge. In the altars, you will have no one but yourself and past selves to free you from a planet that you're trapped on. The game will allow you to summon past versions of yourself that made different choices in their lives. Through these so-called altars, you'll have many hands and potentially get to do all of the light work. But with each altar you summon, the strain on your mind will increase and the more maddening the gameplay will become. You will need to work through the problems of your past if you hope to survive the present and make it to the future. An irradiated blast from the past is coming on the 5th of September. STALKER is back with a brand new sequel called Heart of Chernobyl. It aims to open the zone up to newcomers to the franchise, and for those unfamiliar, this is a post-apocalyptic FPS with survival mechanics where you explore the zone, which is a radioactive wasteland filled with anomalies and horrors. There are also other Falcon stalkers, adventuring scavengers like you, trying to survive and make a name for themselves in this dark and gritty world. It's also like a life sim with photorealistic graphics, an interactive story centered around various factions, and so much more. Every time we see this game, it looks even more impressive than the previous trailers, and it does come out this September. Next up, we have the long-awaited Frostpunk 2. For newcomers to the series, this is an RTS city builder set in a post-apocalyptic world. A planet-scale blizzard has ravaged the Earth and brought an Ice Age wasteland, and from the frosty ashes, your job is to start a new civilization in a single-player story setting. You will not only deal with the construction, action, but narrative decisions that affect the story. In essence, Frostpunk is about human nature, survival, and an insatiable thirst for power in a dying world. You'll have to navigate the political landscape, organize your city, deal with various factions, and research new technologies that change how you play. This is coming to PC first on PC Game Pass within the next couple of months, but it will also be coming to consoles sometime towards the end of 2024. F1 Manager 2024 promises to bring the adrenaline-raising fun of Formula 1 to the sim and management world. There are plenty of new features planned to keep things fresh, with an increased focus on the realism of this franchise. Recently, we had even more news about the upcoming game, and it looks to continue pushing forward on all fronts that many fans have been asking for. The creator team feature in F1 Manager 24 ensures players can create the perfect team to work together, whether the goal is just to qualify for each race or to come out on top. There is also a host of vehicle customization options that players can spend hours tinkering with. I think many will love this new entry, as it's a huge step up from last year's entry, and it's out very soon. While not everyone loved the shift, Assassin's Creed has been steadily implementing more RPG elements since Origins, with Mirage being an incredibly good exception. Ubisoft's upcoming entry, Assassin's Creed Shadow, looks set to continue this trend. Set in feudal Japan, this project will feature two protagonists, a shinobi named Nao and a samurai called Yusuke. What's different in this game is that for certain missions, players will be able to swap between these characters on the fly, and they have unique skills, weapons, and playstyles to suit the gameplay. The dual protagonist structure is certainly compelling, especially as Nao seems to be designed to facilitate stealth-based combat, similar to the older entries in this series. It doesn't come out too long and actually releases towards the end of 2024. An indie game being published by the excellent Devolver Digital is coming very soon to the Xbox consoles and is known as the Plucky Squire. This is a journey that follows storybook characters that discover a three-dimensional world outside the pages of their book. What is interesting about this game is the ability to jump seamlessly between 2D and 3D realms, and this unique take is certainly looking incredible. As you follow the main protagonist, you will come across a ton of stuff to do, from solving puzzles, boxing badges, and enjoying many more delightful and surprising mini challenges as you become the hero of a living storybook. There is no set date for this game currently, but it will arrive sometime towards the end of 2024. This next game is taking a well-established roguelike formula, but pitting players together in a large co-op adventure. In 33 Immortals, you embody a soul who has been damned by God as you join a rebellion composed of 32 other souls fighting to reclaim their eternal lives. You will be using an arsenal of weapons and relics based on sins and virtues, and you'll fight your way out of damnation through hordes of monsters and massive bosses. It looks like a fantastic indie co-op roguelike, and working together will be 100% necessary. It comes to Xbox Game Pass via early access sometime this fall. This next game is a turn-based strategy game arriving onto PC Game Pass day one, and absolutely looks phenomenal. Ara History Untold has been touted as a similar experience to Civ and Humankind, and from many closed alphas, I can certainly say from experience that this is true. Many of you strategy fanatics can rejoice as the snippets of gameplay we have seen so far takes this genre to a whole new level. The developers have stated that the game will feature innovative mechanics and a story with no preset paths. It truly sounds like a unique experience, and from what we have seen and played so far, it's absolutely stunning. An old PlayStation 5 third-party exclusive is finally arriving onto Xbox consoles later this year, and that game is Kena: Bridge of Spirits. This is a story-driven action-adventure game combining exploration with fast-paced combat. You will have to untangle the past of Kena as a young spirit guide in search of the sacred mountain shrine and help free the spirits trapped in a forgotten village with the help of the Rot. These are her adorable yet powerful spirit companions, and every single bit about this game just looks adorable. It arrives on August 15th for all Xbox consoles, and we just cannot wait to finally get our hands on with it. I think the biggest announcement this year was for Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and that is coming to Xbox Game Pass day one, and Xbox really did flex that big bonus at the Xbox Showcase earlier this June. This new game takes place many years after Black Ops Cold War and throws us into the trials and tribulations of the Gulf War. Seeing many fan favorite characters return from the likes of Frank Woods and Adler, I cannot wait to dive into this campaign. As to be expected, there is also a large multiplayer suite, a big return for round-based zombies, but also brand new improvements improvements such as the Omni movement mechanic. Call of Duty looks really good this year, and we don't have to wait much longer to get our hands on it, as it comes out this October. What game are you looking forward to for the rest of 2024? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more Xbox content every single day. Whilst here, why don't you check out the 20 best FPS games on Xbox Game Pass in 2024?